on air.
Alrighty. Well, I'll call to order our work session for December 1st, 2020. Our first item of business today is the Downtown Milwaukie Business Association update with our development project manager, Allison Wicks, and Roy Dennebeck, who's currently the chair, I believe.
Great, thanks for having us back for our quarterly update. I regularly attend the DMBA meetings that have been mostly happening on Zoom, some kind of hybrid Zoom in person with social distancing, but I'll kind of cede the time here to Rory to give an update.
Thanks, Allison. Greetings, everyone. Happy holidays. Great to see all your faces. Thank you for having me. As usual, I like to keep everyone up to date about what's going on in our business community. Start with just a few updates. Let's see. We have it looks like new tenants coming into the Bloom space, which is really promising. I'm not sure who that is. Hold on just one second. I've got some background noise. I'm going to mute that for just a second. All right, excellent. Sorry about that. It's a little better now. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so the Bloom space has been rented, as well as many of the Main Street locations there. Sunshine Learning Center, as you may have seen, is just about to open. They have a big grant that they got for preschool promise programs, which has now taken up 2 of the empty places on Main Street. So it's really promising about filling up our business community. I always like to give those updates as I kind of learn about some things around town, and I haven't really heard about any businesses closing. Now, it might not be present to everybody what's going on, but I just want to kind of share those things with you. Let's see, I've been working in conjunction with Brenna and Allison. I'm just really thankful to have a great staff there at the city. Brenna has just been an absolute joy to work with and a great help in kind of creating events, being creative, joining us in our meetings to help find ways to bring business downtown. So thanks to the great staff. Let's see. Speaking of the umbrella parade, obviously we've shifted to the sort of umbrella decorating contest this year, which is kind of a unique idea. One that I hope actually lives on outside of this pandemic, because I love the creativity involved in it. But we, as the businesses in our last meeting, we worked with Brenna to come up with a way to give out umbrellas. Actually, we found some umbrellas that we were able to purchase for a very low cost. The city helps with the cost, which is great. We have 5 venues across the city. I think it's Ovation, it's Made in Milwaukie, it's Milwaukie Floral, myself, and the beer store giving out the umbrellas. And so each of those locations, people can stop by and pick up I think it's about a 9-inch umbrella. And they can take them and decorate them and turn them back into the city, and then the businesses are going to display them. So we're just kind of getting that going. I know it's a little bit maybe behind schedule, but really a cool event. So if you're out and about talking to people or stop by and grab your umbrellas to decorate, we're looking forward. We got 144 of them to give out so far. We can always get more, and there's plenty of time to do that. So just a little bit of an update on that. Kind of a cool idea. Let's see, a couple of things that just have come up that I just want to share with the council as ideas for some things that the businesses in the city have sort of kind of brought to my attention that could be helpful. One was just came in yesterday, and maybe Allison will talk to this, but the city of Portland actually has a limit on Grubhub and other delivery services on what percentage they can charge. And the folks here in the city are looking to possibly even bring that to the next council session in the open session to talk a little bit about possibly maybe we could do that in Milwaukie. And so I just kind of share that with the council as a heads up to kind of think about. I know the city of Portland has dropped the percentages to like 5 or 10%. And I think that outside the city they can charge up to 30%. And I know how much of our restaurants are really reliant on those services right now. So I don't know if that's something the council can address or not. I just am sharing some kind of ground level knowledge of things people shared with me. So that's one thing. I do know the food carts are just absolutely thankful to have that ability. They've been doing really well, actually. The ones that have taken up the delivery business, I've been talking to them a lot about that. It has kept them, especially the barbecue cart there, Pierre. He's been really successful with that. So I'm really thankful that can help keep them going. Let's see, the other thing that people have brought in there is the idea that possibly with parking in the city, if I know the council thought about this before, and I don't know if you're willing to address it again, but the possibility of giving grace in terms of city parking passes and possibly forgiving a month or two of parking fees for city employee or business employees for the city passes. That idea was floated around as something that could possibly create some help to the, some people pay for it out of their business pockets. Other people pay for, their employees actually pay for those passes. So that was something that they also brought to me that I thought I'd share with you. So those are kind of some of my updates. Certainly open to questions and thoughts.
I'll just add that I think in public testimony time at the regular agenda meeting that you'll hear from Tracy at Grandma's Corner about the delivery fees. So there'll be more time to talk about that. We've started a little bit of research of what the city of Portland did with the community development team, but curious to kind of hear more about that as well.
Yeah, I will say I have heard that and seen that on a number of Facebook pages of food carts and other businesses, that they are actually encouraging people to call or to use one specific service that I guess has a lower fee, or to call directly and order carry out, call directly to them because the fees are pretty outrageous. So I'll be very curious as to what you learned from the Portland experience, because
But if we were to consider doing something, wouldn't we need to jump on that like right away and do what we could to help? And I've been wondering since I read that email if there's even some local company or local person or whatever that had the ability to jump in and do that type of delivery service. Anything to help keep our restaurants going and not be gouged 30% of their profits, or not even their profits, but of their pricing.
Yeah, those are good thoughts. There's 4 or 5 different companies out there that folks are using. The infrastructure to try to run that service is a bit in depth, right? Creating an application to sort of get the orders to these different places is pretty cumbersome, but I love it. There's so much creativity out there that people are capable of. One of the things that we reached out to the Chamber of Commerce too, they've developed and got a part of the CARES package has helped the Chamber to develop this business resource organization that they've gotten some of the CARES funding to help businesses create some ideas like this. So I don't know if everyone's been getting the word on that service, but it's a newly developed idea. It's essentially the Chamber staff is running it. It's not just the North Clackamas Chamber, it's many of the chambers around the Clackamas County and some of the other counties have all kind of come together to form this idea of this Business Resource Office. BRO is sort of this acronym. If you see that, that's what they're there for, and that's what they're able to offer too.
I'm sorry, are they exploring some like local delivery? I mean, as I understood it, the one that is lower cost is an Oregon City based business. It's not a national service like Grubhub or whatever. Are you saying that the Chamber is exploring options like that?
Oh, I was saying the Chamber is offering Business Resource Center so they can help people develop a new idea in case they wanted to develop their own. I guess that's the resource I was offering, Councillor Beatty. Thank you for clarifying. But I don't know about this local. I'd love to know more. I mean, the more things we can share with, business owners just don't have time to explore these things right now. They're so busy just trying to keep their head above water that, however we can get resources. And, Allison's been so great about kind of sharing these things via email. And, not everybody gets the information. So, the more, everybody can help spread the word about different opportunities, the better.
Yeah, I attend a Clackamas County coordination meeting. And so in that meeting today, actually, the Oregon City Main Street coordinator shared probably what you're thinking of, Lisa. It's called Food on Demand. And so it's kind of a local version of these food delivery platforms that I think the customer pays any fees that are involved in it. And then the Clackamas Small Business Development Center also got some CARES Act funding to develop restaurant-specific resources statewide. And part of kind of the resources that a business can access there are about online and delivery platforms. So those are both resources that I just learned about today, but we'll kind of share back out with Tracy and then Rory as well.
Rory, I know the last time we saw you, there was some sort of discussion or speculation about what, if anything, downtown businesses might be able to do to capitalize on the Christmas ships, since we won't be having an event. Were you able to come up with any sort of tie-ins to help bring people downtown when they're out looking at the ships?
Sadly, we did have that conversation, and then with the governor's new freeze, we just stopped working on the plan.
Yeah.
Brennan and I did talk about the idea of still offering as one of the prizes for the umbrella parade. I think the judging is the 16th. I'm a little fuzzy on the dates. I apologize if I got that incorrect. But if that's the case and the winner is announced on the 16th, I was going to put together a small package for like one family for dinner, cha-cha-cha, and host them up here at the store, which would still sort of follow the rules to watch, in the comfort of the Nerds to Go over here as it overlooks the water, right? So we did come up with that idea to sort of give that away as a little bit of a prize, but otherwise we couldn't really explore any of the, other things we did want to. And, maybe if the governor comes out tomorrow and changes the rules, which is unlikely, we could go back to planning. I think the biggest thing and the most difficult thing is, keep changing the directions of what we try to do and then communicating it to everybody about what's going on. That's something that's a challenge for sure. I think everybody deals with that.
Yeah. Well, I love the skybox idea. That's great.
Yeah. Usually I throw a great party up here.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
Good questions. Any other questions?
I'm glad you guys are all hanging in there. It is tough. I'm encouraging folks to shop downtown for every little thing they can. I don't even buy Christmas presents, and I've been buying Christmas presents. So.
Well, I know I can speak on behalf of many people, and every bit that you all do is really appreciated. I know that everybody's trying their hardest. So some people are doing better than others. And there are some businesses that are continuing to move into Milwaukie. And so, hopefully this will be a short, temporary situation that we can overcome. The part I always love is the creativity. I walk around or go running around the Sellwood neighborhood, and I see all these sort of temporary structures in the parking areas built up the restaurants. Now, I know they're not open right now, but it actually adds sort of this new element, this new dimension, right, of kind of fun. Some people cover them. Some people have lights. Some people have, have all kinds of different things. I know that's sort of like the old parklet kind of thing at Wine 30 used to have. So, I know some of these things will continue to pop up, and these ideas will who knows, maybe they'll change the kind of the landscape of our city, even in the future. I think those things are fun. But now as my time runs out, I want to leave you with one thing, and that is, Councillor Wilda Parks, I want to thank you for everything you've done. I know this is probably the last time I get to see you in the council seat in this capacity. So for all the things that I never have known you to do, thank you for all the little things, the time, the energy. I know how much you've done and how much you love this city, and I just wanted to extend my thanks. Thank you. I'll close on that. If you need anything from me, you guys know where to find me, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Roy.
You're welcome.
So at some point, we'll have to figure out an opportunity to have a conversation about this concept, but we're going to hear more about it tonight. So, all right. So next up, we have our municipal court judge, Kimberly Graves, going to give us an update on all things court related.
Well, good evening. I'm not sure that there's a lot different than before because we're not in a lot different of a situation than we were before. A couple things just on my radar is back in June, maybe the Senate bill 1601 passed that put a moratorium on a number of traffic citations that couldn't be issued because they were related to the D&B closure. That's set to expire the end of December. And so absent, I guess, a governor's order, if that could be done in that fashion or another legislative session, the officers should be able to issue more citations starting in January. The biggest effect that it had on, I think, the citations coming in was you could no longer stop someone for having expired registration. And sometimes stops will lead to a DUI arrest. The DUI might not have been obvious initially, but the expired registration gave the opportunity to stop the vehicle, and then you find that the person's actually intoxicated. Or certainly those stops also lead to warrants. I think, kind of unexpected result of that Senate bill was officers couldn't stop vehicles. Expired registration, if they found that someone didn't have a license when they're just out there running plates, they couldn't stop vehicles. So while obviously the DMV being shut down has affected a lot of people, I think there's good reason to get back out there and allow the officers to make the judgment call whether the citation should be issued or not, based on the information they get at the stop. But they should be stopping vehicles and should have the ability to do that because that directly affects crime as well. So that one's on the... Go ahead.
A whole lot of vehicles driving around out there without license plates on them. They're not all new vehicles.
Right.
So people have taken advantage of this and pulled their own plate off.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been plenty of kind of unexpected results from setting that moratorium out there.
Yep.
We did get the deferred sentencing program switched over. Emmanuel Hospital has been what we've always used. I think they have a great program. They had a harder time switching to an online version, I think, than they anticipated, and it took them quite some time. They're just now kind of getting up and running. I think it was last month that Carla did their kind of a test run. We wanted to get up and running sooner than that, so we started using a program that's always been online so that we could still send people through deferred sentencing. We could still give them the opportunity to keep the citation off their record. And that seems to be going smoothly. We're having our first 2 Zoom trials tomorrow, which should be interesting. One of the attorneys had already requested to appear by Zoom, just for his own reasons. We'd already had that set up. So when court was shut down, we thought, well, there's no reason to change the Zoom trial that was already happening. So we're going to give it a go and see how it works with everyone in a different location and on Zoom. We just have 2 set. And they're both attorney trials. So it'll be the attorney, the officer, myself, the prosecutor, and Carla there run the show. And then the last 2 things I had was I'm extending some of our temporary orders. We hadn't been applying a failure to appear fee just because it's so tenuous whether a court is happening, whether folks can come in, whether they're healthy, whether they feel safe coming in. So we had waived that failure to appear fee. I had that set to expire in October, thinking we would be in a different situation. We're not. So I'm going to extend that out. Also, the downstairs staff actually noted that more people were paying when they realized that there was not an additional fee. So when they called the next day and said, hey, I forgot to show up to court, what do I do? And she gave them the same fine that they had before. She said people were happy to jump on it and pay. Whereas when there's a failure to appear fee, she found folks were much more hesitant. They were coming in and they were setting up payment plans and they weren't getting the payments as quickly or maybe not at all. So that's something we need to think about going forward is the failure to appear fee actually having a negative impact? So for now, we'll continue to waive that. And then when we end up in a situation where court's happening on a more regular basis, we'll talk about whether we need to put it back, whether we need to lower it, what makes the most sense. For now, citations are way down. I think that's in part to the moratorium. And in part, it sounds like we've had our main traffic officer out for a while on leave after a call. And then I think he's out on injury now as well. So citations have been way down for probably a couple of months now. And then lastly, I think when I was here before, I mentioned our Amnesty program and trying to get the final numbers on that. It looks like 75 cases were closed for just under $30,000 brought in through that program. That's all I had on my update list. Were there things that anyone wanted to ask about?
Well, those are good numbers. As I'm recalling the packet, it's a very low percentage still of, is that right? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, it's a very low percentage of the outstanding cases that we have.
Do you have any thoughts about how we could improve that percentage?
To my knowledge, this time the information was sent out through the postcards. It was not necessarily sent out to other agencies that might interact with folks who have citations here. I think if we sent out the information to the different social service agencies, that they could post that information, that if they have clients who are struggling to get their license back. Certainly we get letters from Metropolitan Defenders or Multnomah County Multnomah Public Defenders. We'll get letters from them that they've got folks who have tickets, can't get their license. So getting the information out to those agencies might help as well.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Because folks move. We got plenty of the postcards that we sent out back. So if we're reaching out to other agencies that are interacting with folks who might have a history of tickets, I think that would be an effective way to get the info out there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It seems
But
like
the fact that
electronic age, we would have some way, at least with some folks, to figure out where they moved to, right? That there would be some interconnection with the postal service for forwarding or voter registration or, something that would give us some idea of.
Yeah, and I think you get that for the first year after that someone's moved.
Right.
But after that, if it's been more than a year, we could probably run through the DMV because they'll know because they're not going to update their DMV information if they don't have a license. So.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, Oregon City, I'd sent around an article a couple months ago. They were running an Amnesty program, and they were just doing a lot of publicity, getting it in the paper and the Clackamas Review. I think they said they were going to put it in their utility bills. So they were trying to reach out just broadly across the community, not just to the whatever targeted people who got the mailer.
Yeah. Remember, Lisa, did that article include any sort of response rate? I don't know.
I think Monty was going to talk to them and see, but their program goes on till the end of December. So
yeah,
it's not
I thought it was ongoing. Okay.
yeah, Bonnie, we've kind of faded into the next item. So if you want to just hop in here and start talking.
Sure. So good afternoon, everyone. So I did want to give an update on the court amnesty program. It started in July 1st and it went through August 30th. The program is the first for Milwaukie, and it is offered for individuals that had either traffic, parking, or marijuana citations that were outstanding in system, which is through Valley Credit. And so if you paid 50% of your total due, then you were able to get, if you were 2 years and older, then you were able to get your citation removed and your license reinstated. So we did do several outreach, as we kind of discussed here. We did the postcards. There was about 4,500 postcards that went out. We did 2 articles in the pilot, and we also did social media blastings. So with those efforts, we actually did not get the numbers that we were hoping to get. We got the 75 traffic citations and 7 parking citations that we closed off the system. There was an error in the report. It is actually only 1.75%. There was a rounding issue. But it is a very low percentage of cases that we were closed out of the total almost 4,600 that we have outstanding. So there are several factors that could play into that. One of it is definitely the outreach, but there is also potential for the COVID. The people are not really going to expunge their debts when they have, lost their job or something. That's definitely a factor that played into it. But we did reach out to Oregon City. They did do the news article. They did flyers through their utility billing system. And then they also did similar things like we did, like social media and through their local newspaper or the local newsletter. They have a slightly different program where they have 3 years in collections versus the 2 years that we had stated. But when talking to the municipal court manager there, the program so far is the second program that they've had, and they are looking at numbers that are out. Basically, people are responding more than the 2017 program that they had. So they're starting to see a higher return than the 2017 program. And that could be because of the outreach that they did. But they didn't have any concrete numbers that they can share with me because they actually are in the middle of the program that doesn't end until the end of December. So even though those are lower numbers than what we had hoped for, and we did receive just under $30,000 in revenue that we didn't see before, and we weren't expecting to receive. So I think that's actually a win, and then we also helped several people. So I think there's a win-win in this program altogether. And so staff is recommending to you all if we can continue on with the program and do it either in the spring of 2021 or maybe after COVID is quieter. But that's what I wanted to leave it all up to you. And I actually, the suggestions that Judge Graves has mentioned too, is that's something that we would like to definitely incorporate too. We were hoping to have flyers and a lot more advertisement in the building, but then when things shut down, that all went away. I'll leave it all up to you for feedback.
That all sounds good to me, Bonnie. And I'll just note that 1% to 2% is your standard return rate on mail. So that's, for whatever that's worth, you would kind of hope that because it was about something specific and not just a piece of random mail, people would respond more. But it's not out of line with generic mailings, at least. So I think that the judge has some really good ideas, and I think that doing a little more creative outreach could help bring the numbers up. And I really feel like COVID is probably affecting this more than we realize. The fact that the Oregon City program had happened in 2017 meant that it was sort of out there in the community already in a way that ours is not. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of why they were getting a boost. But I know people are making hard choices with every dollar they've got, a lot of folks. So, and if they haven't been paying their fees thus far, there may have been reasons all along, and those reasons probably haven't gone away. So I would love to give us an opportunity to do this again in the future and see if we can help some people expunge their records and get some revenue back into the city.
Is there such a large cost to doing this that we wouldn't want to just keep it as an ongoing program?
Well, there's not really a large cost as far as the time commitment for staff, and also the mailings itself was about $1,800, and we wouldn't have to do that each and every time. That would probably be maybe a once a year cost. But I think there's other factors that, and I think Judge Graves might have wanted to say something, but that play into keeping this as a long term. I mean, we definitely want to look at this program holistically, as you know, whether or not we want to keep this ongoing for the long term. I mean, there's a maybe somebody can help me out here, but I'm not sure if we want to keep open.
I'm happy to say one piece just real fast, which is having it be unknown whether or not it's going to continue helps us encourage people to pay and to utilize the program. So I think the only caution I have is whether or not you dissuade people from feeling the impetus, the need to do it now, if they know they can do it again in 6 months. I don't know.
Well, so what I was thinking there would be like a time period, right? So if you lost your license and you owed $600, you would keep your license would be lost for X number, maybe it's 2 years or it's a year or it's a period of time if you don't pay. But then at some point you drop into this system where, because having known a few people that were in this situation, the charges just keep stacking up, and pretty soon it becomes something that they can never touch. They can never pay off, and so they will never have their license, and they will just drive illegally. And we've not solved anything, and we haven't, been paid back for any of the fine. Nothing good came out of it. So that's why I'm sort of going there.
If I may comment for a second, Mayor, one of the things that we do have with our collection agency when we're not doing an amnesty program is we do have an agreement with them that if the defendant goes in and talks with the collection agency and pays 50% down and makes a payment plan to pay the balance, we do reinstate their license. That's a program that an agreement we've had with the collection agency for years. So it's not like they have to pay the whole lump sum in order to get their license back from us, the court. They only need to pay 50% down and then do a reasonable payment plan with the collection agency, and then the court will reinstate their license.
But is that 50% of our fine or 50% of our fine plus all of the charges?
Well, that's 50% of the collection aid, what is owed at the collection agency, and that's what the amnesty program. That's what they paid on the amnesty program is 50% of what was owed at collections, not 50% of what was owed to us.
Right. So if the original ticket was $600 and they haven't paid it for 2 or 3 years, they're in the several $1,000 realm.
Well, when the count goes to collections, they get 25% tacked on, and then it starts accruing interest.
Right.
Right, and you have to understand, it's just not us. They may pay. We may do something like this for a defendant and let them pay. And if we did do something like this, they may owe 10 other courts. And if 10 other courts don't have this program, they're not going to get their license back. They may clear with Milwaukie, but they're not going to get a license back because the other 10 courts are not going to do what we're doing for them.
They've had 10 tickets. Maybe they shouldn't have a license back.
Yeah, definitely.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions?
I mean, I think it makes sense to try it again. I do think a finite program makes more sense, but maybe it's longer than, maybe it's 3 or 4 months instead of 2. I don't know. But I do think it makes sense to do it again, and maybe to wait until, you know, April or something, where we think we are going to be closer to being, you know, having people with vaccines and having less restrictions on people's movement.
I do know that maybe when Oregon City did it the last time, or it was a different court that we checked with, planning it right around tax time is good, or
Yeah.
even the month before, starting it in March and April when folks can get tax money that they might not otherwise have, or large sums of money, hopefully, that they might not otherwise have. So the timing of it could really make a big difference too. But I agree with what Ann said, that not knowing if the opportunity is going to come around again might be a very good motivator to get folks to, you know, take that tax refund money and make the payment here instead of spending it on something else and hoping that they can come up with the money 6 months down the road to pay the court.
I'm not sure if we can count on taxes being due in April this year. It didn't happen, or next year rather, because it didn't happen this year. But I think that's a really astute observation. Is there a way that we could sort of tentatively commit to doing it in April and keeping an eye on whether or not federal and state taxes are actually going to be collected in April?
Yeah, certainly. I think we could, so what I'm hearing is that we could try another program in April. And if the taxes get extended like they did last year, or if the vaccines don't, you know, have everybody coming back to work and so forth, then we can also work on extending it. I mean, we really can do this at any point in time. So there's a lot of flexibility with it. So we could do it in April, or we can wait a whole other year and do it at tax time in 2022. So it's really all up to you.
So I think what I'm hearing, and I'd love input if this isn't correct, we should do this again, at least one more time. We should try and tie it to whenever taxes are happening. So if it's not April, we should move it to whenever that's an option. And we should then return again after that to council about whether or not, on what kind of schedule we'd like to do this in the future. And if we want to be open outward about how often this is going to happen, or we want to have some spontaneity in it to try and encourage people to pay.
And we're going to tweak the outreach a little to reach out to the people who are in the know. Yeah,
absolutely.
One thing about the whole tax thing, whether or not they're due on the 15th, a lot of people pay their or file their taxes if they have a simple return in January. So they're getting their refund before April 15th. So whether or not the due date is not relevant necessarily to when people have a big check that's unexpected.
So maybe we even try and get the notice out in January, with it starting in mid-February and staying through February, March, and April, May sometime. So we do a longer chunk over the top of when those would come in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a question about the Oregon City. I'm sorry.
Councilor Faulkner?
You're,
My antenna is up.
Thank you.
Not my
you're listening, not talking.
mic. I don't remember any specifics about the Oregon City program, and I'm just wondering if we know, was it similar in the discount to ours?
Yeah, it was similar. And Carla might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but it was similar. The only difference was that I believe it was only traffic citations, not parking and not marijuana. And then they also had a 3-year window versus the 2-year that we stipulated.
Okay.
And they also have the same collection agency that we have. They deal with Valley Credit just like we do, and they don't deal with parking tickets at all. down at their court because they have a huge parking program in Oregon City. So they don't deal with any of the parking tickets. So it was just traffic matters that they were dealing with when it came to the Amnesty program.
I think that's it then. Unless you all have anything else for the judge.
No, before I go, I want to say my thank you to Wilda, and this will be, I'm sure, the last council meeting I have with you as well. So thank you so much. You've always been such a kind and lovely person to work with, and I appreciate that. So I wish you a very Merry Christmas holiday season, and best of luck to you in your much deserved retirement.
Oh, Wilda
I just
won't
gotta
retire.
find-
She'll just go do another committee or another.
Yeah, I just gotta go find new things to get into, new trouble to make.
Well,
As long as the meetings don't go till 11 o'clock at night, she's good.
right. Well, have some fun too while you're at it.
Thank you
Thank you.
very
Have
much.
a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Judge.
Mayor, we did look at whether or not we could move something up from the later agenda, and we're not seeing anything that's a good fit. So for right now, and unfortunately, I think we have a longer break tonight, and we would return at 6 p.m.
All right. Unless anybody's got, Bonnie, did you? No. Okay, you lit up there for a second.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Well, then I'll see you all back here at 6 o'clock. Enjoy your dinner break.